You and your grief. Your grief? Yeah, your grief. Well, what do I mean by your grief? Well, what I mean is you're sitting in an office or on Zoom calls in group settings, and you're listening and you're taking in and you're helping and you're using your innate skills and your training to help folks who are coming in with all different kinds of grief. Post-pandemic grief is especially crucial right now. And we're seeing things that we may not have ever seen before. It's a grief that's the crisis of the self. And a pandemic, the very nature of a pandemic means that everyone is experiencing something that is similar. It's a collective experience. So to think, oh, do I have grief? Well, yeah, I think we all do. I think suddenly being stuck in our homes, suddenly having to find new ways to bring in income or work with clients, having to work with Zoom when we only, saw people in person, and that was just the way we all worked. Having to get into an office, driving or taking a train took time, and that kind of time could have been time to unwind, to think about the self, to do your own breathing. Some of that has been taken away because you're working at home, or you're not going into the office as much, or your practice has changed, and the way you think about your practice has changed, and maybe the way that you think about yourself has changed. And that may be all connected to grief. So I have a question. How are you taking care of you? Who did you lose during this time? And if you didn't lose anyone, it's kind of like 3 degrees of separation. You know someone who knows someone you knew who died or is struggling with long-term COVID, or the grief and the trauma that wasn't dealt with from the past. It comes up, and you thought, oh, I don't need to deal with this. I dealt with it a long time ago. But what we know is that as we age and as we grow and as we mature and have new skills and new clients, that how we looked at past traumas or past losses may have a different lens now. And what we didn't deal with or face can come up in these moments when there's kind of a bombardment of grief. So this is about you. It's not about your client. It's not about how busy you can make yourself. It's not about how successful you are, because I'm sure you are. It's about how are you taking time-outs. I actually don't even call them time-outs. I've got a little secret. I call them time-ins. I think of a time-out as a punishment. This is a time-in. So allow yourself to be in time-in moments where you can think about what's going to help me care more about me, eat well, exercise, and find joy. Because one of the pieces from this pandemic is it's changed us in many ways that we never expected. One of the things I do is I work in long-term care homes in Canada. And I work with staff, and I work with residents, and with the powers that be, the management. And one of the things that the staff is consistently saying is it's not the work that they're doing. It's what happens to them when they go home. And I'd like you to think about this for a minute. And even if you have a home office, you leave that office and then you become part of the family. If you have a family that's living at home or a partner, or you leave your office and you go home and maybe you have a pet, or maybe you're alone. How do you release? How do you let go of everything that you've taken on, taken in by your trusted clients? How do you make time to listen, to put all the thoughts that you might have had, personal ones, while you were working, and maybe you put them into like the air and you said, I'll think about that later. When do you come back to yourself? Because by not doing that, it's like not facing something that you're missing. I talk about grief as a yearning. I talk about grief as a hunger. And some of my best friends are also my colleagues, and they're working in the field. And they come home, they don't want to talk to anyone. They don't want to text. They want to have dinner and they want to just be quiet. Others go out to eat, have a drink, come home, go to sleep, and do the same thing all over again the next day. Nowhere in their rendition of their days do I hear, I've spent some time on my own to release. I've exercised consistently. I've written down how I'm feeling. You ask your clients to do that, but are you doing that for yourselves? Are you honoring anything that might have come up for you in your sessions? Can you think about the sessions you've had and maybe a moment in time where you felt, oh, that hits me, but you put it away because you need to be present for the client. But what happens to that? For some therapists, and I'm not saying it's you, there's depression, there's overeating, there's too much drinking, or there's isolation, or there's non-verbalization. And if this is you, okay, to have someone say you can do something about this and this doesn't need to be your life. I grew up, I had a grandfather who was a clinician, and when he would go out, he was just the joy of the party. And when he'd get home, it was like he was blank. It was like there was nothing there. And I don't want that for you. And so it's about learning how to release. It's about saying, this is who I am. This is what I'm going through. And I can take care of myself. Because when you're taking care of yourself, guess what? You're going to feel better. You're going to be more present with your clients. And you'll engender more joy. And that's what this is about. Let me just talk for a moment about exercise. So, I don't know about you, but when I was seeing 38 client hours a week, I was seeing a client at 6 a.m. and sometimes I was seeing someone at 7 or 8 p.m. and my days were long and I didn't have time to exercise. And what we know about exercise, it is the one major brain changer around depression, anxiety, and it's actually my medication. If I don't exercise, I'm gonna go into the depths of grief or loss or sadness or anxiety. But exercise, it changes everything. I suggest it to you. I suggest it to my clients. I suggest it to the people I love. And for us to continue to do the work we do, self-care is really important. It's important, and you're worth it. You're worth it. So the other piece is, you're probably working with grief even if you weren't expecting to be working with grief. Even if your specialty has been in OCD or anxiety disorders or diseases like diabetes, and people need counseling, or perhaps even counseling people who need to put loved ones into long-term care. But now, post-pandemic, grief is everywhere. And it comes in unknown ways, and it shows up in ways that we may not even understand until we start to really work with someone. Thing is, it might be the same for you. So if all of a sudden you're having trouble sleeping when you weren't pre-pandemic, if all of a sudden you're having memories pop in that remind you of losses of your own, perhaps that's messaging for you to start to think about what you've lost and what you haven't had a chance to grieve or mourn. Or maybe there's some unfinished business, and unfinished business, well, it's always good to go back and look and see what's in the shadowy cave of where your grief may lie. So you need to come first. You need to make yourself just as important as the people you love, as the people you care for, and as the people who come in to your space for your wisdom, for your help, for your knowledge, and for how you're going to help them overcome and dance with their own obstacles. So this is about dancing with your own grief. This is about partnering with it the same way that you're going to ask your clients to partner with it. You need to come first, because when you don't, you have your own degree of burnout. Mistakes are made when you're burned out. There's apathy. There's, let me just get through this day. There's, when is my day going to be done kind of mindset. Also, there's a lack of attention to detail, and your clients need you to be on point around the data points that they're giving you so that you can help them. And you may be blind to what's going on. So do your own assessment, do your own self-assessment, do a body check. See, is anything feeling weird, or does anything hurt within me? Look at your friendships. Have you lost friends? Do you have more friends, around you? Are you feeling like you're isolating more? Because that's all part of burnout. It's also part of grief. And there's also traumatic bonding. If you've got a lot of clients who are coming in, they're experiencing trauma, they're experiencing grief, you may have begun to bond to their pain. And it's really important to have a cutoff, to say, okay, I am now leaving my room, I'm leaving my office, and if you no longer have that train ride or that car ride to your home, then create some kind of ritual with aroma, with music, with exercise, with a call to a friend, to do the shift from the trauma and grief work you may be doing, or the intense work you may be doing with clients, so that you can cut the bond and you can bond to the self. So I hope that you have lots to think about regarding you, because you are important and you need you. I'll leave you with a quote. Healing doesn't mean the damage never existed. It means the damage no longer controls your life. Akshay Dubey, author. Thank you.